Hello viewers, welcome to my channel IITJ Olympiads and AP Physics with Ambarish. And today I have brought a topic which was very much in demand, and this is something that most books do not explain properly. In fact, many books skip this topic altogether, many popular textbooks, and that's why students remain very confused about this topic. And this video is going to, I've tried to explain it in a lot of detail, so this video is going to be a bit longer, but please stay till end. We are going to do the entire theory in the time varying magnetic fields, how to find how to differentiate between the potential difference, the voltmeter reading, and the induced EMF. Okay, and in towards the end we'll be solving a Pathfinder question which I have given on the first screen. So let's start right away. Okay, so what's the question that we are going to address? This is a cylindrical region that is encircled by a uniform metal ring. A uniform magnetic field perpendicular to the plane of the ring varies with time in such a manner that a constant EMF of 12 volt is induced in the ring. So you can think that this is the region of time varying magnetic field, and let's say the field is out of the page, so and this is the region where field is there. So because of the time varying magnetic field, there's going to be an EMF induced in this. Okay, so let's say induced EMF is 12 volts. That's what it says, that induced EMF in both cases is 12 volts. So what's the difference? In first case, I've attached a voltmeter between these 2 points like the shown in figure 1, and in the other case I have attached the voltmeter like this. Okay, and I have to compare the readings of the voltmeters in the two cases. And many students might be wondering, like, we have connected the voltmeter across the same point, so how is it that possibly the readings of the voltmeter can be different? So that seems to be very mysterious, and we are going to end that mystery in a short while from now. Okay, so let me read out the question, complete question. So what does it say? EMF induced is 12 volt in the ring, and a voltmeter of very high resistance is used to measure potential difference between 2 points on the ring separated by 1/4 of the ring. So this is the quarter ring, this much is quarter ring, and this much is 3/4 of the ring. Okay, so if the entire ring has got a resistance small r, then this quarter part will have a resistance of small r by 4. Okay, and this part will have a resistance of 3r by 4. We'll be using this fact later on. Okay, so voltmeter of very high resistance is used to measure potential difference between 2 points on the ring separated by 1/4 of the ring. Okay, actually this word is a little misleading. It's going to give you the reading, we are going to get the voltmeter reading, but whether or not that will be potential difference, that remains to be seen. Okay, for the purpose, the voltmeter is connected in two different manners as shown in the figures. In both the arrangements, the ring and connecting wires are in the same plane. Okay, which of the following conclusion can you draw regarding the readings V1 and V2 of the voltmeter in the first and the second arrangement? So this is the first arrangement and this is the second arrangement, and we need to compare the voltmeter readings, and the options are given whether both readings are 3 volt, whether both readings are 9 volt, or whether first is 3 volt, second is 9 volt, or first is 9 volt and the second one is 3 volt. Okay, so let's first of all get into the concepts. Okay, so first concept is, what is the meaning of EMF in any current carrying loop? Any current carrying loop, this should have been current carrying loop. Okay, let me write the word current carrying loop. Okay, so in any current carrying loop, what do we mean by EMF? If let's say this is normal current carrying loop, let's say we have a conventional battery, then what are the forces acting on the charge particle? So battery is pushing it, so there are three forces. One is the conservative electric field due to the charge accumulation. So you might be wondering, what is this conservative electric field, what's this charge accumulation? So how does a charge know that it has to go along the circle? Battery is over here and battery is not going along with the charge to guide it through the path. So what happens once the battery pushes this charge, just immediately after pressing the switch, there is some kind of charge accumulation happening along this, somewhere positive charge and somewhere negative charge, such that that charge accumulation produces an electric field in the entire ring, and this electric field then guides the electrons. Conventional current we think of it as protons or positrons, you may like to say, and this electric field that comes due to the accumulation of charges along this ring, that is what guides the electrons through the external circuit. Okay, so one is the conservative electric field due to the charge accumulation. Of course, you know that the field due to the charge accumulation is conservative, so its integral over the entire loop must be 0. So whatever is the E dot dl, E conservative dot dl integral on the outer loop, the negative work is done when it is crossing the battery. So in the within the battery, the direction of this conservative electric field is just opposite, in the opposite sense. So from here to here, this electric field is doing positive work, and from here to here, while going in the through the battery, this conservative electric field is doing negative work, such that the integral over the entire loop is 0. So that's what I've written. So conservative electric field due to charge accumulation, and the loop integral of this conservative field is 0. So this, on the whole, in the entire loop, it does no work at all. Okay. Then what else is there? Then there has to be a pushing force responsible for doing positive work on the charged particles, which is non-conservative. So if we want some work to be done in the entire closed loop, so the force has to be non-conservative, right? So what is the source of that non-conservative? What's the source? So normally it's a chemical force which is acting only in this region. So when the charge is crossing this region, chemical forces are doing some positive work on this, and then it falls through the loop. It's something like when you are going over a slide. So first something has to push you against gravity to reach the top of the slide. So generally you do it with your muscular work, but you can also have a motorized lift which can take you to the top. So what is the battery doing? So battery is equivalent to the motorized lift, which is increasing the potential of the charge, and then the charge is falling through this. Just like you reach a slide, the top of the slide on a lift, and then you slide down for the joyride. Okay. So something like that the battery is doing, but this force has to be non-conservative because it's doing work, and if you take the closed loop, the work done is non-zero, because or otherwise not just chemical force, it could also be the induced electric field. Like in case of time varying magnetic fields, you know that there's an induced electric field which forms the closed loops. So this induced electric field can also do that work. Okay, so we need a pushing force responsible for doing positive work on the charge and pushing the charge forward. Okay, and the EMF in any loop is then defined as the loop integral. EMF is E star dot dl. I'm calling this pushing force as E star, which is different from the electrostatic force. So this is a non-electrostatic force, chemical force or induced electric field force, something. So whatever is the force per unit charge, that I am calling as E star. Okay, so this dimension will be same as that of electric field. In time varying electric fields, this time varying magnetic fields, this is the induced electric field. Okay, so EMF is the line integral of E star over the entire loop. Okay, work done per unit charge by this non-conservative force. Okay, so in the conventional batteries, E star is what? E star is the chemical force which exists only in the battery. However, in time varying fields, it may be distributed over the entire loop. Okay, so as I told you, if there's a time varying region of magnetic field, there will be EMF throughout the loop, not just localized lumped EMF. Okay. And what else does the charge experience? Then there is also the third force that charge experience while traveling through the loop, that is the resistive force caused by the random collision of electrons with lattice points. So as the electron is moving through the lattice of the metal, it is getting again and again accelerated and then decelerated again and again because of collisions with the lattice. Okay, so there are these three forces, and if the current is maintained constant in the steady state, the vector sum of all these three forces must be 0, so that electron can move with the constant drift velocity. Okay, so on an average the three forces will add up to 0. Okay, now let's talk about modification of Kirchhoff's law in time varying magnetic fields. So what is the problem in time varying magnetic fields? When we study the chapter on current electricity, we exactly know where the battery is placed, so there's no problem in applying the Kirchhoff's loop law. Whereas in the time varying magnetic fields, we do not know where the battery is. For example, in this case, there's no problem in applying Kirchhoff's laws, because when you hit this battery, you write a minus E1, then you write IR, then you write IR, and you can easily apply loop law. Okay. Whereas here, it's a region of time varying magnetic field. In the entire region, there is some magnetic field, let us say, and it is varying with time, maybe reducing with time. So you have an induced EMF in this sense. So you know the EMF in the loop as a whole, but you may not know what is the EMF in this branch, what is the EMF in this branch. Individually branch wise EMFs you may not know, because loop EMF you can just know by you can find out by just knowing the area and multiplying that by rate of change of magnetic field. So if you know the entire area, you know the EMF in the loop, but you still do not know what is the EMF in this branch, this branch, this branch. Branch wise EMFs you do not know. Okay. So that's the problem in applying Kirchhoff's laws in the form that we used in current electricity. Okay, so here we have a distributed battery and we do not know how it is distributed exactly. We only know that there is so much EMF in the entire loop. So as I said, in the first case we exactly know where the battery or EMF is and write E or minus E when we cross the battery while applying KVL. Whereas in the second case, the battery is distributed over the entire loop. So while traveling along a loop, we do not suddenly cross a battery. Okay, we may not even know branch wise EMFs. However, we know the EMF in every loop as a whole. Okay, so we cannot apply the usual form of Kirchhoff's law here, and we need to modify the Kirchhoff's law in the time varying magnetic fields. So how do we how do we derive the modified Kirchhoff's loop law? Please pay careful attention. Okay, so now let's consider a current carrying resistor in any circuit. So let's say this is your resistor and it's carrying some current I. Okay, and then this, if it's a case of time varying magnetic fields, then this may also carry some non-conservative electric field. Let's say the non-conservative electric field in this is E star, and the field due to the charge accumulation at various points in the circuit, let us say that is E. Okay, so I have two fields, one is the E, so E star and E. There are two fields inside this. Okay, E star is the non-conservative part and E is the conservative part. Okay, now let's recall from current electricity that current density is given by J is equal to E by rho. Now what was E there? E was the field inside the conductor. So there was only conservative electric field, so there was no problem at all. So J is equal to E by rho, but electron cannot distinguish between a conservative and non-conservative electric field, because electron is just a charge. All it experiences is the net force. Whether that force is due to conservative field, whether that force is due to non-conservative field, the electron cannot distinguish as far as its motion is concerned. Okay, so that means what? The net force on the electron is simply going to be Q times E plus E star due to the electric field. I am not counting the resistive force for now. So this is the net electric force experienced by the electron, and accordingly the current density equation will modify to J is equal to E plus E star divided by rho. Okay, where rho is the resistivity, and E star is the non-conservative and E is the conservative part of the electric field. Okay, so now current density, we also know that it can be written as current upon area, and the direction is L cap. So I am calling this direction as L cap. So current density can simply be written as I by A times L cap, and this is E plus E star divided by rho. Okay, now what I am doing, I am taking the dot product of equation 4 with dl vector. What is dl vector? Dl vector is, let us say, along this some small segment that I am calling as dl vector. So a small portion of L. So if I take the dot product of equation 4 with dl vector on both sides, I get I by A L cap dot dl is equal to E plus E star dot dl upon rho, and I can take this rho over there, and L cap dot dl is simply dl vector, right? L cap dot dl is simply dl vector. So this becomes I times rho dl by A is equal to E plus E star dot dl. Okay, E plus E star dot dl. So, and all of us know that what is rho L by A? Rho L by A is nothing but the resistance. So this rho dl by A becomes dr, so the small amount of resistance in the small element. Okay, so just think of dl as maybe somewhere over here. Let us say this is dl. Okay, so and this dr is the resistance of this small element. Okay, so now I can integrate the equation 7 over the entire loop. So if I integrate this over the entire loop, what do I get? Integral of I dr over the entire loop is equal to integral of E plus E star dot dl over the entire loop. Now E is the conservative part. Okay, E is the conservative part of the loop, and when you integrate E dot dl over the entire loop, you must get 0. Why? Because work done by conservative force in the entire closed loop is 0. So that means what? So what I have written, if we have discrete lumped resistances in the loop, then LHS can be replaced by a summation. So integration is equivalent to summation only. Okay, so left side this integral IDR can be written as sigma IR. Okay, so I've just LHS I've put over the RHS over here, and this is only E star dot dl. Why? Because E dot dl integral is 0. So that's what I've written. Since E is conservative, we can say that integral E dot dl is 0. And using this information, the equation 8 can be rearranged as following. So integral of E star dot dl is equal to sigma IR. Okay, and now what is integral E star dot dl? This becomes the EMF in the entire loop. So this is a beautiful equation. Now I do not need to know where exactly the EMF is produced. All I need to do is write the total EMF of the loop on the left hand side and then equate it to the summation of IR on the right hand side. So this is our modified Kirchhoff's voltage law in the time varying field. So this is the very important equation. You can commit it to memory and also try to understand its logic very carefully. Students make lot of silly mistakes in this type of questions, lot of sign mistakes and even conceptual mistakes. So I hope I've been able to explain this concept nicely. If you want, you can replay about 5 minutes of this video again, so that you can very well understand this concept involved here. It's a very involved concept, and make sure that you understand it thoroughly. Okay, I've tried to explain it in a lot of detail. If required, you can play the video over. Okay, now sometimes we are asked what is the potential difference across any resistor element. Okay, so now equation 7 was what? Equation 7 was, let's look at equation 7. So this was IDR is equal to E plus E star dot dl. This is valid for just about any small circuit element, right? So if I have a resistor, let us say this resistor has got a resistance R. Okay, so for this resistor also I can apply that equation. So I can simply write E plus E star dot dl from A to B. This must be equal to what? IR, right? Integral of IDR is IR. Now there is E dot dl over here, and you know that small amount of potential difference is what? So you know that dV is equal to minus of E dot dr. So this you know from electrostatics, right? Small amount of potential difference is E dot, this is supposed to be dr minus, it's fine, it's E minus of E dot dl. So this is the small amount of potential difference, right? So if I want to find out potential difference, I need to find out minus E dot dl. So what I do, integration of minus E dot dl. So what you can do, you can see here you have got an E over here and dot dl over here. So you take E dot dl terms to the other side and you bring IR to this side. What do you get? Integral of minus E dot dl from A to B becomes then integral of, now E star dot dl is still on this side, so integral of E star dot dl from A to B and minus IR. Okay, and what is integral of E star dot dl from A to B? So if there is some time varying magnetic field, there will be some induced EMF in A and B. So integral of E star dot dl, it may be either due to some real batteries between I mean within the resistor there can be some real batteries, or it could also be some induced battery equivalent. Okay, so what is the potential difference across the resistor? Simply EMF in the resistor minus IR. So that's the value of what? This is VB minus VA. Please bear in mind, this is not VA minus VB, this is VB minus VA, because this is dV and this is integration from A to B and this is integration from A to B. So this becomes VB minus VA, right? So make sure you understand this equation and along with proper sign. This is not VA minus VB, this is VB minus VA. Don't make any silly mistake here. Okay, now, and what about the deflection of the voltmeter? So many times you are asked in such problems, what is the reading of the voltmeter? So please bear in mind, voltmeter you can think of as just a kind of modification of a moving coil galvanometer. And in the moving coil galvanometer, the coil rotates because of the strong magnetic field of the magnet within the galvanometer, and the reading that it shows is proportional to the current in the coil. So voltmeter reading is just proportional to the current flowing through it, and it reads IR, the value of IR, which is not same as the potential difference, because potential difference is E minus IR. Okay, and voltmeter just reads IR, which may or may not be equal to the potential difference depending on whether or not there is an EMF in the voltmeter, okay, across the voltmeter coil. Okay, so what does voltmeter read? It reads IR, where I is the current through the voltmeter and R is the resistance of the voltmeter. Okay, now let's come to our current problem. So in current problem, I have written plenty of things over here. I'll just show you. So the total EMF was given as 12 volts. Okay, total EMF was 12 volts, and for finding the reading of this voltmeter, I am going to consider this loop. This is an easy to use loop. There is no flux associated with this loop. So that means what? There is no EMF in the loop as a whole. This shaded loop has got no EMF as a whole. Okay, there is no flux because, okay. Now let's say this whole entire loop has got a resistance small r entire ring, and let capital R be the resistance of the voltmeter. So this has resistance capital R and this whole thing has a resistance small r. Okay, and voltmeter has practically infinite resistance, you can say very large resistance. So practically you can say the current flowing through the voltmeter will be very small as compared to the current in this loop. So I can assume that practically the entire loop has got the same current small I, although it seems to be a violation of junction law, but for practical purposes this small I and this I is practically equal, we can say very less difference. In case of ideal voltmeter this difference also goes to 0. Okay, so the current through the voltmeter is practically negligible. So we can say that now what is this I? So total voltage is 12 volts and total resistance is small r, so this small I is simply 12 upon r. Okay, now let us apply modified KVL to the loop AXBCDA. So AXBCDA, this is the loop. Here I am applying the modified Kirchhoff law. So what's the current here? This is I into R by 4. Okay, this resistance must be R by 4 because it's only the quarter loop. So I into R by 4 and plus IR is equal to capital I into capital R equal to 0. So that's what I have written. Small I R by 4 plus capital I into capital R is equal to 0. And what is small I R by 4? You see, I into R is 12, so IR by 4 becomes 3 volts. Okay, so what do I get for capital IR? So capital IR is minus small r by 4, which is minus 3 volts. Okay, so what does this minus 3 volts represent? This minus 3 volts means that so that means what? The current is actually going in this direction. Okay, so it is towards D. Okay, since IR is minus 3 volts. Okay, and voltmeter shows a deflection of 3 volts from A towards D. So V1 is 3 volts. Okay, now this is settled. So for figure 1 we have found out this reading is 3 volts. Okay, and the current is going in this direction. Okay, from A towards D. Okay, now let's find out the reading of the other voltmeter. And for other voltmeter reading, I am finding that this loop is very convenient, because again in this loop there is no EMF, there is no flux associated with this, the shaded part that I am just shading right now in blue. There is no EMF in this, so this is a convenient loop for applying modified KVL. Okay, and this has got a resistance of 3R by 4 because this is 3/4. So I am going to go along this loop and then going to write the modified KVL equation. So what do I write for here? So this is 3R by 4 into I. Okay, small I into 3R by 4 and plus capital I into capital R is equal to 0. That's the equation. So that's what I've written. See, I into 3R by 4 plus capital IR is equal to 0. That gives you capital IR is equal to minus 3 small IR divided by 4, which is minus 9 volts. So minus 9 volts means again the direction of the current is opposite to the direction that we assumed. So the reading of the second voltmeter is 9 volt from E towards F. Okay, so current is flowing from E towards F. So current is actually flowing in this direction. Okay, and this drop is not drop, the IR value is 9 volts. Okay, so this is what we get for the voltmeter 2 reading. So we see that this is the correct option. So we get the correct option C. Another interesting question could have been that well, here yes, so there will be some EMF in this also. We could have also asked what is the potential difference across V, and that will be an interesting question. So for that we can if we are given the entire geometry, then we can find the EMF in this, and we know the value of IR, and E minus IR will give us the potential difference across the voltmeter. Okay, so please bear in mind what is asked, whether we are asked voltmeter reading or whether we are asked potential difference, and the two are different things, they are not the same things. So this is what I wanted to explain, and maybe I've been a little quick, but I tried to explain every detail of it, and I hope you liked my presentation. It would require probably another go. I mean, you can have a look at my video once again, and you can play it maybe at 0.75 speed in case you want to understand everything at every step clearly. Okay, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I was very enthusiastic about producing this particular video because this concept is very dear to me and very important for the students also. If you did like my presentation, please do give it a thumbs up, and please recommend it to your friends, share it in various WhatsApp groups or Telegram groups or Discord server groups that you might be a part of for IIT JEE. And if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. It gives me a lot of encouragement to continue my good work. And I would like to produce awesome videos for all of you. Please do keep coming back to my channel. Thanks a lot for watching this video. God bless you.